Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're giving you week 15 fantasy football starters, streamers, and fades. That's right. We're here to help you make all the right decisions on who you should keep in your lineup, who can help you in a pinch, and who's going to break your heart if you don't make the right decision. Let's start this fantasy football podcast right meow.
Playoffs? Hey everyone, I am Justin, that is Kyle, and this is the Fantasy Football Upside. Thanks for dropping by our Fantasy Football podcast and YouTube channel. We appreciate it. Week 15 is here, Kyle.
Yeah.
We are here to help you win that championship. Today we're hitting you with our starts of the week, streamers of the week, and fades of the week. You definitely want to check out our waiver wire pickups for week 15. Click the link in the corner or in the description below just to see if anybody's still out there. Also, check out our Thursday night football start sit. This is going to come out Thursday morning, so you definitely have a little time before that release, before the game. Check it out, who you need to start, who you need to sit. What you got before we get right into it?
All right, guys, click that subscribe button as well as the bell, like we always say, so that you're notified every time we upload the podcast, because subscriptions don't matter unless you click the bell. They're meaningless otherwise. So make sure you do that. We're going to be here all off season, entertaining you with useless and inane stuff. I imagine we're going to probably try to talk about the NFL draft, get people ready for the NFL draft a little bit, talk about players that they might want to consider, who fall into good situations and that sort of stuff. We'll do a little bit of the developmental stuff in that respect, but we don't typically talk too much about dynasty things. And so we'll probably not go too deep into that. So we'll keep it kind of surface and stupid, like the two of us, for you. There you go. Like you said, double check your waiver wire, because you want to make sure that you know what's been dropped. Maybe there's some guys or defenses or stuff like that that's worth picking up or considering through this week. Let's see here. Let's make sure that you throw any start set questions down in the comments below, and we will get to them as best we can, because we're always asking. Do you need assistance? And so let's dive headfirst into the shallow end on these starts of the week. Justin, running back right off the top. I'll go ahead and hit running back up. Let's see here. We've got Derrick Henry going against Detroit. Imagine that, right? Derrick Henry is the start of the week in running back. I actually was considering Jonathan Taylor. Believe it or not, the situation was going to be really great, but the issue for him is that he's just now seeing the volume that Derrick Henry will get. Right. So you got to go with the tried and true, the guy who's been getting the volume all season. Plus, it's December, so it's Derrick Henry season. And he's going hunting for some DBs. He's gonna knock he's gonna throw some dudes to the ground backwards.
You're gonna hear a lot of things on the sideline. Mama, no.
Yeah. He has kids. Yeah, that sort of stuff.
You got to pick up a lot of stuff on the microphone when there's no fans.
Yeah. So look, Detroit, we know they're bad, but as far as going against the running back, they are the worst. They're allowing the most fantasy points to the running back on the season in standard scoring. So in non-PPR situation, Derrick Henry is the king right now in matchup in week 15. So hopefully you're not facing him. Hopefully you're starting him. He's been a top 3 back 5 weeks this season, which is really good, right? You would think that that's like, oh, wow, there's nobody else competing with him. Dalvin Cook actually is only 1 behind him. But here's the concern with Derrick Henry, actually, and this is not getting talked about that much. And that is that he's actually been outside of running back 1, so that's 1 through 12 territory 5 times out of 13 games this year, which, still startable, but he's actually fallen into running back 3 territory several times. So that's actually 2 more times than Dalvin Cook. And when Dalvin Cook has fallen out of running back 1 territory, he has maintained running back 2 value.
I think a lot of it has to do with if he gets game scripted out a little bit, because if they're down, they really do not put him out on the field.
Yep. And that's actually kind of what I was going to talk about a little bit. Not to step on your point, but let me, look, Matthew Stafford is the real question mark here. I think that Derrick Henry has a great day if Matthew Stafford is out. And if Matthew Stafford is there, I think it's a question mark. I don't know whether or not Derrick Henry is going to have a great day. I think he'll have a really good day. I think he'll at least finish as a running back 2. But the concern there is that Matthew Stafford can obviously change the tone of that game really quickly with just a couple passes. I don't see DeAndre Swift or Adrian Peterson suddenly turning this game on its nose and putting it out of reach in a manner that Derrick Henry's game scripted out. Tennessee's going to play their game, and if Stafford is out, which right now he is doubtful actually, then Detroit's not going to be able to force Tennessee out of their game plan. And so I would expect Henry to get a lot of opportunities and to produce some good results. So that's where I'm at. I got Derrick Henry. What do you have at wide receiver?
I have future Hall of Famer DeAndre Hopkins going against the Philadelphia Eagles. Hopkins is coming off a couple games where he's got double-digit targets, so he had 13 and 11 back-to-back games. This guy is on the verge of a touchdown breakthrough. I mean, he has to. He only has 5 on the season.
He's due.
He is due. Like, the numbers back it up. This guy is due. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to happen. If it's going to happen, it's going to be this week. I think the game is going to be an up-tempo game with Jalen Hurts as the quarterback for the Eagles, getting the ball down the field now with the Eagles instead of what Carson Wentz was doing. So I don't think it's going to be a game script up the other way. So, and Kyler Murray is doing the same thing. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury wants to get the ball down the field quickly and keep it going. And the Eagles give up the 10th most points to opposing wide receivers. And I just don't think there's a player in the Eagles secondary that can cover DeAndre Hopkins. There's really not. Darius Slay is a rather good corner, but you just match those two up, and I just don't.
My issue with Hopkins this year is that he's got some sort of like snake bitten ankle or something, or a calf or something, right? And then you toss on top of that nobody else has stepped up when he's been double teamed, and as a result, teams are just willfully going and double teaming him. Yep. And then there's not been an effective run game to force them to cheat that guy toward the box so that he gets a chance to run routes that evades the double team or can hide that in play action or something. And so I think that you have to have a defense that just keeps making mistakes. And I want to say that, is it Malcolm Jenkins? Is he still in Philadelphia? I don't know if he is or not. I know that he just got hurt last week and missed his first snap.
He's back with the
138
Saints
or something. Yeah. But when he was in Philadelphia, he was kind of shut down. Philadelphia doesn't really have that right now. I agree. And so it'll be tough. I don't know what's going to happen there, but I think that they'll try to double cover him and roll with that.
Well, you mentioned the run game a little bit with the Cardinals. They finally gave Kenyon Drake some more touches, and he got like 25 touches last week, and they actually performed okay.
So 18 yards. 18 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yes, pretty much. Pretty close. No, I think he had like 80 some odd yards on the ground. But
yeah.
All right, what do we got for tight end for a start?
All right. So it's semifinal week for most people, right? What are you going to do? You're going to roll with it. You're going to roll with the guy who got you there. Wide receiver number 5 overall right now is tight end Travis Kelce going against New Orleans. Can't ignore his dominance this season. If you take him out of the equation, I think that Pat Mahomes is not actually in the MVP conversation. I think that Tyreek Hill has gone off in a couple of games, but Kelce's really the guy who's raised the ability to do that, I think. He's only finished outside of tight end territory or tight end 1 territory one time the whole season, and that was against Denver. He has finished as the tight end 1 overall 5 times this season. I mean, it's been bad for tight end this year. So the one dominant guy obviously has turned it into he's winning by a whole like quarter lap here on everybody. New Orleans is not terrible against the tight end. They're 21st in fantasy points allowed, but Kelce's just not a normal tight end. And so he's elite against everybody. Doesn't matter how good your defense is, he still takes it apart. And Pat Mahomes makes that kind of happen. He and Kelce just have a sixth sense, a preternatural sense about where each other is going to go or need to be to have an open opportunity. And so they're unstoppable. Like I said, you take one or the other out of the equation, I think you got a real difference. Real difference in that team, either one of them. So
for sure.
What do you have at QB?
Take this guy out of the lineup, and there is no team for at least on the offensive side, and that is Lamar Jackson going against the Jacksonville Jags.
They proved
that pretty much is the Jackson going against the Jags. Truthfully,
yeah. I mean, you take him out of the lineup for any reason at all, like having to go to the bathroom.
Oh, it was cramps, Kyle. He said
It's
he
cramps.
didn't Paul Pierce it.
Yeah,
I love that.
If I'm holding it in too, I'm gonna get cramps.
Such a 300-pound people chasing you.
Yeah.
But I mean, Lamar, when he was running well because I mean he was running the last couple weeks at a crazy high efficiency. And I have to kind of look back on whenever he was down with the knee injury, or he wasn't missing games or anything like that, but he was hampered by it. You saw his rushing numbers go down. Well, now they're going back up in the double digits, and that means high 90s and low 100 numbers on the ground. Great rushing floor. He's sixth place finish in week 13, number one finish last week. He's doing this while throwing it just 17 times each in the last two games. So. And the Jags give up the third most points to opposing quarterbacks. And I don't think there's a player on the Jags that can spy him effectively and try to stop him when he gets on the outside.
Not anymore.
Nope.
They traded Yannick Ngakoue away, and he would have been the only guy that I think could have done it potentially.
Jalen Ramsey, they would have taken him off of the corner spot and maybe just had him spy the whole game. That would be about the only person that I would ever think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'd be weird for him to do that, but I'm just saying, I'm just spitballing.
Yep.
What do we, okay.
Let's hit up streamers. What do you have at QB?
Derek Carr going against the LA Chargers. He's only 48% roster still. And it's one of those things where we were talking about Derek Carr quite a bit. And there's been a couple weeks where we kind of missed on it, but he's finally back. And I mean, these last 2 weeks, he's been very, very relevant. He was number one quarterback in week 13 and fifth last week.
Yep.
And one of the reasons why is he's firing that pigskin 40 plus times.
Yeah, I mean Josh Jacobs is kind of falling off a cliff for anybody who's got him, but
he's starting to get nicked up a little bit for Josh Jacobs, so that means they're really not going to be handing the ball off to Jalen Richard multiple times or Devontae Booker a bunch of times, so they're going to have to throw it in. The Chargers give up ninth most points to opposing quarterbacks, so it's a decent matchup. For a guy, if you're really hurting for some reason, if you're just streaming quarterbacks to the end of the season, this is a guy that you can possibly pick up and start.
Yeah, you can roll.
What do we got for tight end?
I'm going with Jordan Reed versus Dallas. Is 22% rostered. Reed's been providing a decent value of late, and it's a thinned out tight end pool. So what are you going to do, right? You might not have many other options who have any upside, and he's got some decent upside actually. He's going to be on the field a lot because they like to run the ball, and so he's out there blocking to some extent. But when they audible, which I would imagine maybe that they let their QB audible every once in a while, he's available. He's averaging around 5 targets the last 3 weeks, which is really good. It's hard to find at the tight end position lately. So that sort of consistency is valuable, especially if you're in PPR or something like it. Dallas, or if you're in like a tight end premium league, that kind of thing. Dallas gives up a lot of points to wide receivers and tight ends. And so he lines up at both wide receiver and tight end. That makes him extra valuable there. And the fact that he's still sitting on roughly 4 out of 5 waiver wires is kind of weird because he has been doing pretty well actually. And in a tight end starved fantasy world right now, I can't see how this guy has continued to slip through the cracks. He just is, but same thing could be said for Logan Thomas. He was sitting out there forever too,
for a long time.
Yep.
He always made our streamer list, and finally he got over that number, I think.
Yeah. Really. I've had him in that charity league, which semifinals. I've had him forever. Like I think I drafted him actually, and he hasn't left my lineup for like 10 weeks plus. So it's a deep multi-flex lineup. So there's like 3 or 4 flex spots.
I got you.
What do you have a defense streamer?
Defense, we're looking at the Tennessee Titans versus the Detroit Lions, 47% rostered. We already kind of mentioned this matchup just a little bit earlier, but the Titans may be playing against Mr. Elite Chase Daniel. I would actually call him maybe Mr. Financial Savvy because I think he's probably still leading the league in the most money per pass attempt. Because, that's a stat that was out there at one point.
Yeah, he was drafted like 10th overall or something by
No,
he was drafted in the first round or second round. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was a really high draft value. Yeah, he was. It was the.
I don't think it was that high.
Who drafted him? It was really high. It was like Tennessee or something.
I just remember. I think it was the Saints that gave him a bunch of money to be a backup. bunch of money. But we kind of mentioned the Matthew Stafford situation when it comes to Detroit, but also want to mention Kenny Galdey is most likely going to be out again. He's still not practicing with a hip injury. So it's one of those things where I look at it as there's not a whole lot of weapons still available in Detroit, especially if Chase Daniel's a quarterback. The Titans D is not the greatest. I mean, they've been chewed up quite a few times, but going against this offense, I mean, if you're streaming through the playoffs, I think this is a pretty good pickup for you.
Yeah, he went undrafted, but then he kept getting signed, and he kept getting money more.
He just kept getting it.
Yeah.
He's great with the clipboard.
I guess so. He was in Chicago for the last couple of years, actually. Before
Chicago Saints. Yeah, he's just getting paid everywhere.
Yep.
Eagles, I think at one point.
Maybe.
I think you can just probably pretty much you can pretty much just say any team, and you're like, yeah, I could probably see Chase Daniel there. Yeah.
Who is it? Who does the QB school on YouTube? It
used to be John Gruden.
No. QB school on YouTube. He actually diagrams and breaks down each QB and stuff like that. I can't think of his name. He played on 11 teams. He
Charlie Whitehurst.
No, he holds the record for and he started in Cincinnati for a few years. It's TJ something maybe. I can't think of his name. But anyway, all right. So I've got fades. Let's hit up our fades and get out of here on these. All right. So running back. I said it before. I've said it many, many times, and I faded him before. We were right. We've got running back. We've got Ezekiel Elliott. He's going against San Francisco. San Francisco is 27th in fantasy points allowed to the running back. That's very, very good. They're very good against the running back. And look, without enough defense on the Dallas side, this game actually could kind of get out of hand. I think that he could end up game scripted out. You add into that Mike McCarthy is just a natural game scripted out running back situation, and he's double game scripted out. Since Dak went down against the New York Giants, which that week Ezekiel Elliott finished as running back 1. Okay, since that week, Elliott has been better than a running back 3 2 times. He's only performed as a startable player 2 times. Yeah.
That's not good.
No, that is not good. He was running back 5 against Minnesota and running back 22 against Baltimore. Okay. So that's kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. And what you have to look at is that those are offenses that rely heavily on the run game, but whose defenses have struggled to stop the run this year. And Baltimore actually is middle of the road against the run. People haven't paid attention to that fact, but they're actually middle of the road against the run. So they've struggled against really good run teams. So San Francisco relies on the run. This is exactly the recipe for an opportunity for Zeke to go off, right? But has a good defense against the run as well. So when you pair those two things together, it actually spells disaster for Ezekiel Elliott. And I'm not just saying that, oh yeah, he might get RB2 and we could still roll with him as an RB2 or flex. I'm saying you fade this dude out of your lineup this week.
Yeah.
Got to have the guts to take a guy that you drafted in the first round if you have him or you traded for him or whatever.
Yeah.
And you got to have the guts if you have an alternative, like maybe even Damian Harris in a tough setup as well. You might have to roll with him out there. If you've got somebody like James Robinson or something, if you're considering, and he's one of the 4 guys you're considering, and you're doing 2 starts and a flex, I'm probably sitting him. There's not a whole lot he can do for you this week. He's not finished as a startable running back, but twice since week 5. Since week 5. That's bad. So wide receiver, who you fading?
Tyler Lockett going against the Washington football team. And
it's a really rough matchup.
Well, it's a rough matchup, and it's been a rough go for Tyler Lockett's last few games. I'm going to give you his yardage totals, Kyle. The last 3 games, 23, 63, 52, no touchdowns.
Oh, so he's playing tight end now?
Right, pretty much. Yeah, he's
the tight end in 2020 ever. It's tight end in 2020. Right. That's what that is. I mean, that's a high-end tight end because he's getting 60-plus yards here and there.
Right. But, Boy, we thought Lockett and DK were going to be pretty close to each other. We didn't know that DK was going to do what he was going to do, but you could really see Lockett is way behind DK Metcalf in the fantasy value on the Seahawks. So Washington football team give up the third fewest points to opposing wide receivers. That's what you were just talking about, how Washington football team's pretty darn good against wide receiver. And and
QB.
I just don't think this is the week. I mean, we've talked about Russell Wilson when it comes to fades. I almost put him in here in a little bit. I almost did, but I pulled out. I didn't want to. But what do you have at tight end fade of the week?
Gloss right over that one.
I don't know what
Dallas
you're talking
Goddard.
about.
You don't know what I'm talking about at all. Okay.
No idea what you're talking about, man.
Hit rewind, everybody. Dallas Goddard is my tight end fade. This is probably going to make some people mad. Not as mad as the Zeke call, but he's going against Arizona. Arizona is actually 28th in fantasy points allowed to the tight end, so they're actually better against the tight end than San Francisco is against the running back. So he's only been a tight end one. So it's a top 12 tight end twice. And while he's getting decent targeting, he's had to have a very favorable matchup to even be a playable tight end. This is kind of concerning because I think that there's a real attitude about him in the fantasy community right now that he's a fantasy darling lately. But I think that's mostly related to his value in PPR, and people aren't really truly differentiating the fact that he's being buoyed by the targeting that he's getting and the opportunities that he's getting. His yardage is okay, but he's just not producing when it comes to tight end or to touchdowns. And that's one of the higher parts of value that you get out of a tight end is the opportunity for touchdowns. And I think he has like two, maybe a couple, maybe three on the season. It's really not much. And in an offense that has in the past had tight ends lead their team in touchdowns, that's a very, very big hit to have taken. So I'd expect him to continue struggling getting touchdowns with Hurt at QB. It's the same sort of situation. I liken it to Cam Newton or Lamar Jackson right now, right? There's not much value to anybody else, or even like Taysom Hill. There's not much value to anybody else in that offense other than pass catching running backs when you get into the red zone. So it really goes right to the QB, all that value does. And so I would say that they're going to struggle to get into the red zone a little bit. And then even when they do, it's probably just going to be Hurt tucking it and running a lot. So, all right. Who do you have at QB?
I have Deshaun Watson going against the Indianapolis Colts. Kyle, where did all the weapons go for Deshaun Watson? I'm going to put that in quotations.
Yeah,
anyways.
we could list it.
Yeah.
We know.
They were traded. Yeah. They were either that or suspended, injured, or just waived. So that's where all the weapons went. Yep. And the Colts give up the fourth fewest points to opposing quarterbacks. And the last couple weeks, including a game against the Colts, he has finished outside of QB1, so outside of 1 through 12 when it comes to QBs.
It's amazing what happens when you don't have wide receivers on your team anymore.
And whenever you don't have running backs that are worth a darn or tight ends that are above league average.
I don't understand. A Bill O'Brien managed team somehow ended up looking like a depleted husk of a football team.
You know what? Maybe they have a lot of picks coming up because they've been so bad.
They got rid of all those because they didn't need those. They wanted the players. Which
they
is
wanted
so
contracts.
obvious now.
They wanted overpriced players. Yeah.
This is like kind of like when Philadelphia last year lost all of their wide receivers to injury.
Yeah.
At least they still had picks in the following draft.
Right.
They
still had an opportunity.
They're like, we lost like 8 wide receivers and we were starting dudes who were straight up on the practice squad, signed the week
Greg
before to
Ward
the practice
became a guy for quite a while last
year.
He's
still a guy.
He's still a guy.
Yeah, he's still a guy. But they then went out and in the first round picked up
Jalen Reagor. Yeah.
So it's like, well, at least they still had picks.
That's like, you don't really have a whole lot going for you right now if you're a Houston Texans fan. No offense, with all due respect, of course.
Yeah, I mean, over the next couple of years, they're going to be the proverbial bicycle, town bicycle kind of thing. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. We're going to hit you up with our matchups the next 2 episodes. So hang around for that. Make sure you hit subscribe as well as the bell so you're notified when we upload those episodes. We'll help you figure out who you should start over different players or which guys you should consider, avoiding because of bad matchups or injuries at key positions, that kind of thing. We will go ahead and throw the waiver wire episode on the screen as well as the Thursday night football episode. So you can check that out before the game starts tonight. And so, thanks for being a fan of the Upside. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
See ya.